why you see so many George Kell stickers on the back of the vehicles where you live? We know why. Because we offer great deals. We've got big rebates, low interest. We've got great people. We've got great service. We've got everything you need to have a great car buying experience. Deal with us, and we'll make you a customer for life. No games, no gimmicks. We're George Kell Motors, your Hall of Fame dealer in Newport. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get started with tonight's banquet. One thing I want to bring up before we start with the color guard, they're going to come post the colors and do the national anthem, but I want to say one thing. It's a number of years that we've had this particular thing, this charitable foundation, and sometimes you wonder, well, where did it all start? I'll tell you where it all started. Ronnie Brown. He's here tonight. Ronnie Brown's the one that started this, and he's here tonight to present the 81 football team. But I thought it was important to say that because it is important, my dear friend, and he started this, and here it still goes. So I would ask now that the color guard come and post the colors, and we all stand for the national anthem. Malachi Gates will sing.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night as our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now I'd like to ask Luke Sampson to come up, number 12, to do our invocation.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here on this wonderful night to celebrate the hardworking and great skills of these special people. We are grateful for the unity and joy of our community experiences as we come together in honor of these outstanding inductees. We give thanks also for the administration, the faculty, and the great tradition of Newport High School. We ask your blessing upon this meal we are about to receive and upon our time together this evening. Amen.
Now we're going to have the cheerleaders do our alma mater. And if you know the words, sing along. If you don't, fake it.
To you.
It's one of my favorite songs. I don't have a list of all of the foundation things that have happened over the last few years, but since Ronnie Brown started this foundation, it's a long time ago. Moby Dick was a minnow. He did a great job, and it continues to be a great thing. What it does, it allows a lot of people to go do a lot of things that otherwise they could not do. It takes kids who have never been out of Jackson County or out of Newport, it takes them to go see things that they otherwise would not have seen. So sometimes you think about, well, what is it that I do if I give $100 or $1,000? And you can see some of the big donations there. You don't have to give $2,000 or $2,500, but tonight, if you could, before we leave, if you could make a donation for the charitable foundation, it will be used for the purpose intended. So I hope that you'll consider that. Over the life of this foundation and this Hall of Fame that Ronnie started, it's generated over $350,000. Yeah, to allow, again, to be used for students and teachers to get to do things that they otherwise wouldn't get to do. So it is a worthy cause. And you can see tonight by all the people that are here and all those that will be inducted tonight, it's a special night. It's just one of the things that makes Newport so special. It's an important thing. Greyhound football, I played in 67, 68, and 69. And I still remember some of the plays. I talked to Coach today, and he said, tell the players one of the plays you like best. And I told the players, play every play like it's your last one. Remember those kind of things, Rod? You play every play like it's your last one, because it won't be long. It will be your last one. And you'll be like me, an old man whose mind gets better. If I live long enough, I'll be All-American. Nobody will remember me. It's a special night. We've got people that we're going to induct tonight, and they're all worthy, and they come from all walks of life. It's a great, great night. One of the things that makes Newport so special. So I would like to have the Excellence in Education Award given tonight.
Good evening, everyone. If you do not know who I am, my name is Carol Clark. I have lived in Newport all of my life, went to school here, graduated from here, came back to teach children in this school district. And I'm standing in front of you today with great pleasure to introduce someone who has been one of the greatest blessings in my life and my lifelong friend. When people hear that we've been friends since kindergarten, they assume that we've been inseparable our whole lives. That's not exactly how our story began. We were always friendly growing up, but we each had our own circle of friends. Things started to change in high school when we both began dating two boys that had been classmates and best friends all their lives. We both ended up marrying those old boys. But the friendship we have today really began years later when we started teaching together at Albright. That's when we became what I would call true friends. And honestly, the rest is history. Looking back over all these years, I truly don't know how I would have made it through this career without her by my side. We've often joked that we could write a book about everything we've experienced as teachers. And better yet, we've said our lives would make a great reality TV show. And anyone who has spent time in education knows there are stories that nobody would believe unless they lived them. Through every season of life, she has been my person. She's the one I call when I need advice, when I need encouragement, or when I have another one of my crazy ideas. She's an incredible communicator, a steady shoulder to lean on, my biggest supporter, and the kind of friend who makes every challenge a little lighter and every celebration a little sweeter. If you know me, you know I'm always dreaming up another classroom transformation, holiday celebration, student surprise, or special event. I'm the planner, she's the sponsor. She doesn't even question my ideas anymore. She just smiles and asks, "What do you need me to do?" or "How much money do you need?" Now, decorating bulletin boards isn't exactly her favorite thing. In fact, if it were up to her, she'd probably skip making one altogether. But somehow, every single year, I convince her she needs one for her classroom too. So there we are. I'm standing on a chair trying to get everything straight, and she's standing there beside me tearing off pieces of tape and handing them to me, one by one. She doesn't help because she loves decorating. She helps because she loves people. She has never once made me feel like one of my ideas was too much. She simply says, "What do you need?" and then she helps me make it happen. That's my friend. She serves people without ever expecting recognition. Those same qualities are exactly what makes her such an extraordinary teacher. She has a gift for seeing potential in her students long before they see it themselves. She doesn't lower expectations because a child lacks confidence. Instead, she helps them discover they're capable of far more than they ever imagined. I saw that firsthand when she taught my grandson. Math has always been one of his strongest subjects, but every now and then he would hit a problem that seemed difficult, and he'd immediately say, "I can't do this. I don't understand any of it. I don't even know where to start." Most people would have stepped in and shown him what to do, or the opposite and just said, "Figure it out." Not her. She would simply smile and say, "Yes, you do." Then she'd say, "Just think about it. You do know this. When I come back around, I want to see something on your paper." She believed in him enough to expect something from him, and every single time she came back around, there would be work on his paper, and almost always it would be correct. She knew what he was capable of even when he didn't. That's what great teachers do. They don't accept excuses because they see possibilities. They don't lower expectations because a student lacks confidence. They lovingly hold students to the high expectations until those students begin believing in themselves. I've watched that happen over and over again in her classroom down through the years. One student recently had convinced himself that he just wasn't good at math, but she saw something different. She encouraged him, challenged him, and refused to let him believe he wasn't capable. By the end of the year, that same student earned the highest performance level on the Atlas math assessment after remarkable growth from his previous assessment. Those scores weren't just the result of learning math. They were the result of a teacher who believed in a child until that child learned to believe in himself. Another one of her greatest gifts is something you can't teach. She has a way with people, and if you know her, you know what I mean. Whether she's talking with students, parents, co-workers, or yes, even adults who need a little bit of redirecting, she has an incredible ability to help people calm down, see another perspective, and find common ground. She is a peacemaker. She doesn't embarrass people. She doesn't escalate situations. She simply chooses the right words at the right time. Somehow people leave feeling heard while also understanding what they need to do. That is a rare gift, and she has it. As co-workers, we've laughed until we've cried, survived days that only teachers could understand, and celebrated countless victories together. Through every season of life, she has been my biggest supporter, my sounding board, and one of God's greatest gifts to me. Jerry Beth, thank you for every laugh we've shared, every prayer we've prayed together for our students and our families, every conversation that made a hard day better, every piece of tape you've handed me, every classroom celebration you've helped make happen, and every time you simply ask, "What do you need?" Thank you for never making me feel like my ideas were too big. Thank you for always believing in me. And thank you for believing in children before they believe in themselves. The greatest lesson you've ever taught wasn't math, it was teaching children to believe in themselves. It is my pleasure and my honor to present you with this plaque for Excellence in Education Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be able to stand before you today. We have been friends since high school. I can tell you right now, he is an outstanding young man. He's very genuine and kind, and always has been. Going to school together, playing Greyhound football together under Coach Keedy, battling for a state championship. We even attended the same church, First Baptist Church, where we participated in the youth program together. Some of my fondest memories is, believe it or not, is Sunday night after service. The youth would get together and fellowship over at some of the parents' houses. They would rotate, and I remember going to the Van Hooks. Very beautiful home. As life would have it, you would separate and move on. Our paths would cross. Sometimes we would see each other in the military. I would address him, sir. We would reminisce about Newport and playing football and life. And then at times it got personal, and I called him doctor. He's been a great friend. But I think some of the most important things that's impressed me the most was probably 2002. Because 2002 took prayer, and it took a major decision. Because in 2002 is when he had to do his medical residency. Where's he going to land? And he could have went anywhere in the state of Arkansas, but he chose to come home. He chose Newport. He chose to come back to a place that loved him and supported him when he was a child, and that's exactly what he did. He came back. He was a pillar in our community. He is what he's what I call a man of character. And that is an individual that our students can look up to. Someone to aspire to be, that sat in those classrooms, walked those halls, and played football on that field just like them. And he gave them belief that they can, if I can do it in a small town, you can too. And guys, he never ever told me no. Anything that we needed with school, he was there. Anything with our kids, he would sponsor, he would fundraise, he would be there. But when it came to athletics, he would never ever tell me no. Giving physicals free, Friday night home game, deep in the fourth quarter. Greyhounds are driving. One of my athletes takes a shot in the chin. Bless his heart, he is gashed. He comes over to me and he says, "Coach Reynolds, I'm bleeding." And I look at it and he's bleeding bad. And I do just enough to stop the bleeding and clean it up. And I never do this. I never look to the audience, but I turned around and I tried to find Rod. And I was sitting there and I was looking. And I remember there was a guy about the 50-yard line. And he stood up and he looked at me and he said, "Benny, who you looking for?" And I said, "I'm looking for Dr. Lockola." And he looked around, left and right, and he goes, "Rod." And about that time, Rod stands up and he points down to me. Okay? When he comes down there, he bends over, and I said, "Rod, man, he's cut, and he's cut bad." I said, "Is there any way you can help him?" He said, "After the game, I'll meet you in the Keedy building." I said, "Yes, sir." Patched him up. I said, "Keep your chin strap on, baby. You're going to be all right." We get there after the game. I do what I'm told, protocol, clear the field, clear out the Keedy building, make sure all the athletes are gone, turn off the lights, lock the doors. Well, I did exactly what I was told except for one thing, and I left the light on the training table. Walked the boy out of the locker room, put him on the training table, brought his mama in. Everything is dark. I opened the side door, and out of the darkness and into the light, he came in. Briefed his mom, laid the boy back, gave him 6 stitches underneath his chin. I walked the mom and the boy out. They said, "Thank you very much." I turned around, and I watched him walk away in the darkness. I don't have funny stories, but what I do have is 17 years of him supporting our athletes, because that was 20 years ago, and to this day, no one knows about it. And I have many more. He has never, ever told me no. The question I have is this right here, is where does it come from? Where does the love come from? Where does the determination, where does the success? Because he gave me 3 to 4 pages of this man's achievements, and I can't spell or read half of it, and I don't have that kind of time. But he is overwhelmingly successful. And I'm asking you, where does it come from? And I'm so glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you, this is my opinion. I've been in education for 30 years. And the key to success is not in education. And the key to success is not understand at all in athletics. The key to success is a biological mom and dad in the home demonstrating what success looks like. And the key word is demonstrating. And that is demonstrating the discipline that has to be within, that those kids got to understand. It's a work ethic. It's how hard you work. But it's the demonstration. You got to live it. You can't just talk about it. You can't buy a t-shirt. You got to live it. And that's exactly what happened. Because this is what happens to your children. They see mom and dad. Because you know as well as I do, they only hear half of what you say. Okay? But I promise you this, they are absorbing everything that they see. And they are watching, and they reap the benefits of their parents' hard work. They see the cars that you drive. They see the house that you live in. They see the vacations from Florida you take, the ski trips to the mountains. They absolutely see everything. So Mr. Butch and Miss Patty, the reason why we're here tonight celebrating your son, because he has 2 parents that loved him, demonstrated what that success looks like, and led by example. Congratulations to you both. There's 3 things that I've always admired about him, and I'm going to keep it simple. Number 1 is his personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And it's always been evident by the way he carried himself, by the way he loved his wife, raised his girls, and cared for the people in Newport. Number 2, he served our country. He took a cheap pen and signed the dotted line, willingly, if need be, sacrificed his life for the people in this room so we can remain free. For 23 years, he served in the Air Force, retired out as full bird colonel from the Tennessee Air National Guard. John 15:13 says this, Jesus is speaking, "There is no greater love than this, than one give his life for his friends." And third, guys, he's only loved one woman. His whole entire life has been Mary Catherine. He's always loved her. I have 2 boys that I love very, very much. If they can become half the man he is, I'll be a proud dad. His achievements and awards include, he graduated from Newport High School in 1990. He received a degree in microbiology from the University of Arkansas in 1994. He earned a doctorate of osteopathic medicine from the University of Health Science in Kansas City, Missouri in 1998. He completed his family medicine residency at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in 2001. He returned home to Newport to start his family practice from 2002 to 2019. In 2019, he became Associate Program Director of Family Medicine Residency for the Unity Health in Searcy. Since that time, he has held several titles within the Unity system, including Associate Program Director, Chief of Staff, and now serves as core faculty member of Family Medicine Residence Acute Care Services and as a Medical Director of the Acute Inpatient Rehabilitation Unit. He continues to practice family medicine today. Throughout his medical career, he has also served his country for 23 years in the United States Air Force as a flight surgeon. He was Chief of Professional Services from 2002 to 2015 and Chief of Aerospace Medicine from 2016 to 2020 for the 164th Medical Group. His awards are as received: the Meritorious Service Medal, Army Reserve Components Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal, and Armed Service Ribbon, and Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. He retired at the rank of Colonel with the Tennessee Air National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, he leaves a legacy that will last forever. Please help me welcome into the Newport Alumni Hall of Fame, Dr. Rod Lockala.
Wow. If anybody knows Benny, Benny is, and you didn't know this, Benny, but you do know this, how much I appreciate you, who you are to this community, who you are to your neighbors. You're somebody that I look up to right now. And it's how we live and how we act. And you really stole my thunder, but you did it better than me. You know, nobody stands up here by themselves. And you know, my mom and dad, most of you, I hope, I'm sure you do know my mom and dad. They're awesome. And my mom and dad, you know, I could go on and on about my childhood and how wonderful it was, but I will tell you a couple things. One is that my parents loved me unconditionally. And that's scriptural. That's how it's supposed to be. My parents loved me no matter what. And number two, it was okay if I wasn't perfect. Just raising my girls, I saw a lot of parents drive their children to perfection. And it was okay for me not to be perfect. It was not okay for me not to do my best. But if I did my best and I made a C, then a C was my best and that was all right. You know, because they saw my work ethic, they taught me to study and to do these things. So absolutely, Benny, my parents were the example of how to live life. Next, my wife. You know, this is an incredible opportunity, an incredible, most humbling honor I've ever received in my life. Truly the most humbling. Left me speechless when Miss Lynn called me. But I thought I might get to sit in this cafeteria one more time with my girlfriend. I got to be honest with you, though, I was hoping for some wacky cake. And not that this wasn't wonderful, and it is, and they did a great job, but I was low-key hoping for some wacky cake. But so yeah, I had no excuses. My wife is wonderful. Robert, thank you so much for letting me marry your daughter. Judge Irwin that's here. Y'all don't know this, but Judge Irwin and Mary Catherine were tight. Until Kilby came along, Mary Catherine was the center of Judge Irwin's universe. And therefore, he was also my Sunday school teacher. And so, you know, that's a weekly check-in with Judge Irwin. So, yeah, be real careful. So, just to be here and to look you in the eye and hug your neck and thank you for the wonderful life that I've had. I got the privilege today to speak to Miss Gloria Holden. She called me, and it was so wonderful to catch up with her. Miss Pat, I got to hug your neck. There's just so many of you that just know that you're heroes of mine. I see Dr. Jabez Jackson. Anybody that knows me knows how I want to be like Dr. Jackson. Dr. Jackson works tirelessly. He is a patient advocate. There's nothing that would come in between him and a patient, and I wanted to be just like him. So he's a hero of mine. Karen Jones is a hero of mine. Dr. Dudley's a hero of mine. Dr. Green's a hero of mine. These people, I loved how they went about their business and took care of this town. But I'm so happy to I interact with people, and I have ever since I left Newport High School, and I always tell them that I graduated, I came from the best high school in Arkansas. And I know that blows maybe some people's mind. I'm just telling you a fact that I graduated from the best high school in the state of Arkansas. Amen. We were, in my class by itself, there were 5 doctors, a West Point graduate, a Notre Dame graduate, a Washington Lee graduate, multiple Hendrix graduates, multiple University of Arkansas, Arkansas State, Arkansas Tech, and on and on and on. And these people are wonderful, wonderful human beings. And all of that came from Newport, Arkansas. I go to Fayetteville, and back in those days, how we registered back then, and they immediately, and you're thinking, how does somebody know that you're from Newport? Well, you tell them you're from Newport, and they say, this is the math class you need. Because you already know this. You don't need this basic thing. And I'll have you know that as I went to Algebra 1 at the University of Arkansas, there was absolutely zero that I didn't already know from our math department. It was just kind of routine that we won the math contest every year. I told Ms. Holden, we, literally every person in the class in the math contest, at minimum, and I was the minimum, got honorable mention in the state math contest. I have friends with plaques of their honorable mention state math contest on their wall, and we kind of all got it in like an upward certificate, I mean, we all had one. So it was wonderful. The same, when I went, freshman English was in the exact same book that we used at Newport High School. So basically I was on repeat my whole first year, and that's how you want it. My athletic experience here was second to none. I loved it. I appreciated what I learned. I just learned so much on the line of scrimmage. I think it's just so important when a guy gets hit to learn how to stand up and to know what things are when you get down, that you just got to get back up and you just got to keep going. And every, especially young man, I think, needs to know that somehow. So, and I see Mr. John, I will tell you that every hamburger that I've had in my life since Wardell has, it's been a disappointment. So, it's just a fact. But anyway, I love you all so much. Thank you for a wonderful life. Thank you for this incredible honor. I'm just beside myself and so humbled by it. So again, thank you. Go Hounds. Be Batesville.
It took me a minute. I have a new hip. I'm Sue Carlisle, and I am so pleased to be a part of honoring the next outstanding graduate, Brody Hubbard, to be inducted into the 16th Annual Newport Alumni Hall of Fame. The Newport School District, the Charitable Foundation, expresses, I read, that the Hall of Fame was created to recognize Newport alumni who have made exceptional contributions in their field while exhibiting outstanding leadership, character, and service to the community. And he certainly has. Though most people probably don't know the extent of Brody's service, so much of what he has done could not be made public. He graduated in 1976, and he started his public service career by joining the United States military. And then, after that, he was a Newport and Dias police officer and fireman, EMT, paramedic. He again protected and served. For almost 30 years now, and this is what a lot of people don't know about Brody, he's been a member of a federal disaster response team, first responder, being promoted to Logistics Section Chief. Before the attacks on September 11th, 2001, they mainly responded to natural disasters. And after 9/11, they became a part of the Department of Homeland Security. And Brody is a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security and a team commander. He's been deployed 30+ times. And like I said, so much of what he does cannot be broadcast, but a few points, places that he's been, in addition to the World Trade Center, he was at Salt Lake City during the Olympics because our country was on high alert at that time. He's been to Haiti, Japan, Guam, many other places, and like Benny was saying, you're Benny to me, Benny was saying about Rod, places I probably couldn't even pronounce that I've never heard of. Anyway, I watched Brody grow up in this community in Diaz and Newport, and his fine family were wonderful role models, as Benny said. Of course, everybody remembers Joe Ritas. We all know Joe Ritas. I have seen his most positive impact from coaching Little League basketball, baseball. He has even won trophies in competition roller skating. Yeah. Okay, personally now, as an EMT, he's had my back. He attended my family member on numerous ambulance transports to Memphis and back. My son was in a bad accident in that Campbell Clinic, and when we would have to go to the office calls by ambulance, Brody was there. And often he could not turn himself for the x-rays. This man volunteered to go in, put that lead apron on, stay in there with him, and position him for whatever they needed to get those x-rays. He never hesitated. And then we get through, and he'd drive that ambulance. He'd find some McDonald's and go right through the drive-through in Memphis just to get a French fry or a milkshake on the off chance that my boy might eat one or two or take a sip of it. And that's not all. When we'd come home to Diaz, he would back that ambulance all the way down my long driveway, right up to the backyard to the dog pens. My son raised boxers. And he would get out, go open those doors, get him in, raise that stretcher up, and let him sit there and visit with his dogs as long as he wanted to. Well, he must have been gathering all this knowledge for a long time and preparing for this life of service. And speaking of service, while this was going on, he has been sitting over there giving his grandson a bottle. Anyway, he must have been preparing and learning from a long age, because I have it on good authority. Your sister maybe, you may want to take this up with her later, that as a kid, instead of taking a comic book to the bathroom with him, he would take a volume of the encyclopedia. A very deserving, outstanding. I'm not going to talk about the disturbing ones. There are some, but that's again between he and his sister. He's very deserving, outstanding Newport High School graduate, and my friend. I introduce to you Mr. Brody Hubbard.
There's going to be hell to pay with my sister. She always made that joke when we were growing up, and then, because I'd always grab the encyclopedia, and it left her having to clean up the supper dishes, so you know, that was the revenge for that. I've known Miss Sue, and I thank her for the nomination, and I thank the selection committee because I was humbled and honored when Lynn called me and told me that I'd been selected. Throughout my years of service, I've received a lot of certificates and medals and awards. And you can ask Kay that she says, why don't you have them displayed? Well, they're all just in their little presentation cases in a cabinet at the house because I don't, put them out like that. I don't glory in the spotlight. But then when you're recognized by your peers, and especially someone like Sue, that puts a lot more meaning to it because they know you, and in spite of everything they do know about you, they still decide to honor you. So I was raised, I think, for public service. My initial desire was to be a doctor, but once you start having kids and your college career gets put on hold, because I didn't want to go to college right after high school. And then when I finally did go to college, the boys were growing up, so it was all about them. I put my plans on hold, so I decided to be the next best thing, which is a ditch doctor, and that's a term for a paramedic. So I have been down in the ditches, hanging upside down over behind the country club on a spine board, starting IVs in the middle of the night, dodging snakes and mosquitoes, the occasional drunk, But it was very fulfilling. And I was raised by my parents that you help take care of people in whatever way possible. Everybody knows about Joe Rita's. Mama pounded those floors and waited a lot of tables and served a lot of people in here some of that Punch's cheese dip throughout the years. I still have people asking me about it, and I can't make it, but Rita can. She can still make Mama's cheese dip. When I was recruited into the National Disaster Medical System, I thought it'd be just like being a paramedic, on a larger scale. We would be deployed to different natural disasters, and then after the terrorist attacks, like Sue said, it took a totally different turn. We've been all over the world. I've had all kinds of opportunities that I would have never thought that little old me from Newport, Arkansas would ever have. The biggest ones who supported me in all of my endeavors with my deployments were my family, because they had to endure a lot of missed birthday parties, missed events, and every time I was at home, I always tried to make it up to them because that was the most important thing to me were the kids and taking care of family. But I was also honored to take care of a lot of other families, especially Sue and her bunch. They've always held a special place in my heart. We've grown up together, and we just when we're thinking about serving others, you rely on your faith in God because you see a lot of things. You've seen the worst things that can happen to humanity, and then you see the best that comes out in humanity. And luckily, I've had to. There's things I wish I could forget that I'll never forget. But then I also have stood beside some of the most honorable people and been held up and supported by them. A lot of you in this room, a lot of friends, a lot of people that aren't my friends yet because they just don't know me. And once they get to know me, they may not want to be my friend. My church family is here. Just it's an honor. And I thank y'all for everything. I thank my family. They've all had to put up with me. And now Kay, she has to wrestle the dogs and everybody else when that call comes in late at night that says you got to be on a plane to Bahrain in 6 hours. So for everybody who supported me and the school that I hold near and dear in my heart, I thank you. And again, I am humbled and honored for this award. Thank y'all.
on somewhat of a personal note. I've kind of wondered when my final breath comes if there was anybody that might be willing to speak for me. And Benny, if you're free that day, you're nominated, okay? The only difference is everything you said about Rod was true, and you're going to have to make up some stuff for me. You know, about 51 years ago, Pat and I made the decision to come to Newport. Without a doubt, it's one of the best decisions that we have ever made. Friends like John and Ronnie and Billy and Jennifer, and to see young men like Benny and Rod and Theo and the mayor and Billy, it's been our home. You know, it's funny, I grew up in Star City, but I don't even think of Star City as my home anymore. I think of this. I asked Jerry Bullard, who asked me to introduce him tonight, is there anything you want me to say, or if there's anything you don't want me to say? And he said, well, the only thing I don't want you to mention is that he was voted cutest in his class. And I said, well, what's wrong with that? He said, I should have been voted most handsome. Known Jerry and Ginger now for 51 years. It's been a great friendship, one without any limitations. We have taken 100 vacations together. My oldest daughter was within 1 year of his oldest daughter. My youngest daughter was within 1 year of his youngest daughter. There have never been any secrets. Well, that's not true. He's never held any secrets from me, but I definitely have a few from him that we're just going to kind of keep it that way. He came back from college and he was employed by Newport Federal, and a good institution. It was worth, I think at the time, $40 million. They approached him in El Dorado, which was at that time a savings and loan, and it was worth about $100 million. And his dilemma never had anything to do with the salary, never had anything to do with the money or the opportunity. He knew that's what he needed to do, but he simply did not want to leave Newport. And he and I had many late night conversations over George Killian Reds, which most of y'all don't even know what that is. And he finally decided he knew he had to take that job. And he would come home every weekend because Ginger was still teaching and she couldn't move down there for about 3 or 4 months. And every weekend he would come home and he would just literally cry on my shoulder, I want to be in Newport, it's where my heart is. And then every Monday morning about 2 o'clock in the morning he'd load his car up and he'd head back down to El Dorado. And after about 4 months he came back and met with one of his board of directors here at Newport Federal, and he said, Mr. Hinkle, if you would just hire me back at what I left at, not what I'm making in El Dorado, I'll come home. Mr. Hinkle said, Jerry, we would love to have you. We'll take you back and give you anything you want, but that's simply not what you need to do. And Jerry stayed the course. He went down at El Dorado, and what his charge was from the board of directors, we have never made a profit in the El Dorado, whatever the name was, savings and loan. He said, you don't have to make us money. If you can get us to break even, what they said was, we'll make you a wealthy man. That's what they actually told him. Said, you just get us to break even. When he went down, the bank was worth $100 million. It's worth over $2 billion now. So I think Jerry's pretty much fulfilled his job. Now, he will tell you he didn't do that alone, and that's true. He went down as a vice president, and I know the president, his only boss. I know a whole lot more about their positions than I should, but I can tell you his boss told me there was never one decision made that was not jointly made by Jerry and the president. That came from his mouth. He said, there's nothing that I decide without consulting Jerry. As a matter of fact, one of Jerry's board of directors came all the way from El Dorado tonight to be here. Jerry and I have hunted together. We have fished together. I actually saw Jerry's first golfing experience, and it was at a member guest here on hole number 3, which has a creek going in front of it. Jerry had never played golf before. So either his cousin, John Sink, or myself, one of us hit it in the water. There's only a couple of holes left, and we had a partner, And Jerry said, well, I know where that is in the water. I'll go get it. And John, I said, no, it's okay. We got it. He said, no, I can get that. So he's had a pair of shorts on. He took his shoes off, and he waded out. And for those of y'all who know what the water looks like, not only do you not want to swim in it, you don't want to eat fish out of it either. It's not the cleanest place. Sure enough, Jerry found that ball. But on his way back to the bank, he found 2 more. So he decided, this is fun. I think I'm pretty good at this. So by the time we finally got him out of the water, we counted 52 golf balls. And this is during the tournament going on. And I promise you, 10 of those balls were hit in there when irons were still made out of wood. They were not new balls at all. In all honesty, I pretty much mean this from the heart, Jerry is probably the best father, the best husband, the best grandfather, and the best friend that a man can think of. And I simply mean that from the heart. He's loyal, he's disciplined, he's smart. If I owned any business, I know when he took over, you would never have to check a book. He's going to always do the right thing. And tonight we're going to induct him into the 2026 Newport Hall of Fame, but he's been in mine and Pat's Hall of Fame for about 51 years. So, Gary Bullard.
You know, golf balls are $4 a piece. So keep that in mind. There was a lot of truth in some of what Mike was saying, a kernel anyway. When I got out of college, I knew I wanted to come back to Newport. Ginger was still in school. We were engaged. We were going to get married that summer. And my Aunt Nancy Sink said, I think Newport Federal's looking for a young man. You ought to go up there and apply. And I said, great. Where are they and what do they do? I had no idea. All I knew about Newport Federal is the Little League team they sponsored always had great uniforms. But I went, Don Smith hired me. First 4 years flew by easy. But then, I'm not going to get in a bunch of weeds on monetary policy, but the Federal Reserve changed their reserve requirements. Savings and loans started losing money. For 3 years, we were losing money big time at Newport Federal. They finally recovered, but during that time, I got a job offer to go to El Dorado, like Mike said. They were in trouble too, but they were the only stock savings and loan in the state at the time. And they had a Newport guy on there. David Hodges was on the board at the time at First Federal of El Dorado. And I thought, great, I got a Newport guy. I gave a 30-day notice at Newport Federal. By the time I got down to El Dorado, David had evidently heard I was coming. He sold his stock and got off the board. True story. But anyway, we were losing money too, and after 12 months, I was up in Fayetteville. Ginger went with me. Somebody in Fayetteville was trying to hire me. And I got a call, it was before cell phones and stuff, but I got a call from our chairman of our board secretary, and she said, he knows you're up there. Don't take another job till you talk to him. So I came back, and that kind of turned the bank around. They had fired the CEO at the time and hired a really smart guy that was executive vice president of the biggest bank in El Dorado. Why he came down there and left a profitable bank to come to First Federal Savings Loan, I don't know. But we hit it off right away, and we set about trying to change the complexion of the bank from a savings and loan to a commercial bank. It took us a while. I'm not going to take if y'all can see, I'm not reading off anything. I didn't prepare any notes. Y'all are in good shape because I can only talk for about 5 minutes. But by the way, is Susanna Marshall's not here, is she? Good. She's the bank commissioner. I don't want her hearing this. I'm always reminded of a story of the little girl that goes to church. She's about 4 or 5 years old. Got on a beautiful white dress. It's got bows, silk bows sewed all over it. And the preacher, while he's preaching, he can tell the little girl's proud of her dress. She was touching her ribbons and all that. So at the end of the sermon, when he's at the back of the church greeting the members as they leave, he points it out. He knows she's proud of that dress, and he says, "That is the most beautiful dress I've ever seen." And she's just waltzing around, and her parents are standing there smiling, and everybody thinks that's so cute. He said, "In fact, I think it's so pretty. I wish you'd wear that thing every Sunday." And she said, "I would if my mama said, but my mama said it's a bitch to iron." So you need to beware who's listening to you. Well, anyway, we went about. We had about 30 million in bad loans spread out all across the United States. And I spent about 4 years going from the East Coast to the West Coast working out of bad loans, and Ginger had to stay home and take care of the kids while I was gone. And it was tough on her, I know, but it was tough on me too to miss my family. But we finally got out of that, and then we started doing niche lending. It's not real sexy, but we do a lot on poultry houses. In fact, we're the biggest FSA lender in the United States. Shane knows that. And then so we have that division. We also have a farm and ranch division that's headquartered out of Louisville. And they do crop loans, land loans, everything in between all over the U.S. And then we have a professional services division that does startup pharmacies, and y'all aren't gonna believe this, pet resorts. You won't believe how much people will pay to leave their dogs for 2 or 3 days, but that is a big business. We've made one for $3 million before, and they pay like clockwork. But anyway, it's turned it around. It's a $2 billion bank, but we do $600 million a year in loan originations. And then you say, well, how do you do that? Won't you run out of money? Well, we sell participations. And Randy's nodding his head, he understands too. And so we pull a servicing fee off of that, and we turn that money over again and again and again. And while I retired 11 years ago, we still have Newport people on there. Sean Williams grew up in McCroy and was here for 3 years, run the Farm Service Agency. When we bought the bank, First National Bank of Wynn, he was the CEO. And in short order, we realized he was who we wanted to have as our next CEO. So we moved him to El Dorado, and he is now the CEO. Another one, Joe Miles' daughter, Evelyn, she's a senior level executive with us. She does a great job. She's a better baker than Joe was. Let me tell you something. If something comes out of her department, you know it's 100% correct. And those lenders know it too, because they say, I can't send that over there to Evelyn's department. She'll send it right back. But it's been a great ride. I enjoy it. I still go down every week for loan committee. They've been very good to work for. The board owns like 90% of the stock, and they were very supportive when we were struggling. And they put two young guys in charge of this thing, and I can't believe they let us run like that. But they did, and it worked out for them too. But then, I like Mike said, I hated to leave here, and my dream was to someday be able to come back and be the president of Newport Federal Savings and Loan. But that just shows you your dreams don't always come true, do they? But it worked out. And I remember how fun it was growing up here. You get up in the morning, you get on your bicycle, throw your glove on your handlebars, and stay out all day. And then as you grew older, you'd start hanging out at the Legion Hut. And I remember one particular time there, I was in there to dance, and Joey Coe and I were talking, and in walked the prettiest girl I had ever seen. I said, who is that? And he said, Ginger Long. and she's still the prettiest girl I've ever seen. And we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary this summer, and it's been a good ride. All right, thank y'all. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by it, especially after these first two. I don't even know why I'm up here, but I appreciate it.
I'm a little crippled. John had to help me. I think the last time I was in this cafeteria, I had me a pimento cheese sandwich and I was dipping it in a bowl of chili. Theo Young's back there shaking his head. I'm going to talk about the 1981 Greyhound Championship year. And I want to start at a different place. I want to start after the game. We had those Greyhound buses that I drove one. Kitty sat in the seat on the right up front. We pulled out of that place because Kitty would say we jicked their jack. We drove on the way home. The kids were just wild, you know, singing and hollering, and that's fine. If you win a state championship, you can get a horse for all I care. And then all of a sudden we get to Marlton, around that area, and it gets kind of quiet. And Kitty said, "Don't look at me." Kitty said, "Hey, Brown, we did it." I said, "Yeah, we did it. But what y'all don't understand is his 'we did it' was a little different. His 'we did it' started in 1977 in August on a practice field right over here. And he had a bunch of guys on the knee telling them what he was going to do in his first year there. Guys like John Miner Jr., Russell Bergen, Wendell Green, they were looking up at him, and he said, "I want to tell you one thing. I want you to always strive to do your best, and the other is trust me with every decision I make." And we did, and we did. And that first year, I think we went 5-5, but we did it. We went 5-5, and we beat Batesville. I hate them too. And next year, I think we went 8-2, and we did it. We won more games. And the next year, I think we were 9-1, and then we went 9-1 again, maybe. And then the fifth year, we went all the way to the state championship. And we were playing Alma, which was a good team. And we were playing at Alma. And some of you football junkies know what I'm talking about. And Theo Young knows what I'm talking about. Coach Keedy sent in a play. It was 3rd down and 10. He sent in the punting team. I said, "What the heck are we doing?" And he sent in a fake punt. Who runs a fake punt on 3rd down? Bill Keedy. You know why? You know why it worked was they did what he told them to do. And they never questioned it. They just did it because they loved that guy. And we won the game. And that was the best part of it. So we get back on, going back to the bus trip home. He starts saying, "Brown, we're going to be pretty good next year." And I thought to myself, give me about 2 or 3 more miles, please, to enjoy a state championship. And you're wanting to talk about next year. Well, he said, you know, we got those Walker boys back. We got Jimmy Neal. We got Misty at quarterback, and he just started rambling on. And I let him go because he was in his element. He was already preparing for next year. Folks, that's why he beat people, because he was ready for everybody. And we finally made it home and crossed that old blue bridge. And I promise you, we had 2 deep on the offense figured out. We had 2 deep on the defense figured out. We knew who was going to punt. We knew who was going to kick off. We knew who was going to kick extra points. And we knew who the holder was. And we knew who the 4 managers were going to be. That was before we got off the bus. And I love that man. And you know, and Jennifer knows this very well, we always went to football games on Saturdays after those games. This particular Saturday, we went to Memphis to see the Memphis Tigers play. We were sitting in the bleachers, and it was before the game. And this guy dressed up like a witch doctor ran out on the field, and everybody got real quiet. And I looked at Keedy, he looked at me, and he said, what the hell's going on? I said, I don't know. And that guy started spelling out tigers in the middle of that field. He went, spelled out tigers. Everybody cheered, and then in the crowd after that went nuts. I said, Keedy, we can do that. He said, what are you talking about? I said, hell, we can spell out hounds. So the next Monday at practice, I'm standing in front of everybody, getting ready for cows, and I said, all right, I need everybody's attention. Look at me. We're going to try something different. And I had everybody's attention, and I said, what is this? And I threw up my hands like that. Wally Michael said, touchdown! I said, Wiley, I meant, what alphabet letter is that? And McMahon said, Coach, that's a H. Very good. All right, Joey Lowry, what is this? He said, that's a O. I said, we're on fire now. Then we went through the whole alphabet. H-O-U-N-D-S, hounds. And we did it before every practice, and we did it before every game, and the kids loved it. And I loved it too, because I thought it was pretty neat. Keedy, I just can't say enough how he influenced me as a coach. And I just, you know, the guy is just such a great guy. And I ain't gonna look at you anymore. But he really, really influenced my entire life. And what I would like to do now is I want everybody that wants to participate in this and that can stand up, we're going to spell out hounds for our next speaker. Okay? Everybody stand up. I'm going to lead you, so kind of pay attention to me. But I can't raise my arms very high because I have a bad shoulder. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. A-O-U-N-D-S, hounds. While you're standing, I want to introduce one of the greatest running backs in the state of Arkansas I have ever coached in my life. He is so good, and his name is Billy Rocket Man Warren. Congratulations, buddy. You know I love you.
Well, it's extremely hard to follow after this guy. First and foremost, I'm honored to be here today. When I got the call, I was very excited because I haven't gotten an opportunity to come home much, but as it be, God has allowed me to come home. So I'm very thankful and grateful to be here tonight. I also want to acknowledge my beautiful wife, Linda. She's here with me. I've been asked to accept this award on behalf of the 1981 Greyhound team. So I've kind of put something together tonight. I'd like to share it with you. It goes, I'm deeply honored and humbled to accept this incredible recognition. Standing here today is a remembrance that championships, trophies, and records are important, but the greatest victories are the relationships we build, the lessons we learn, and the lives we continue to touch because of our togetherness. First and foremost, we give all the honor and glory to God. Without His grace, His guidance, and His countless blessings, none of us would be here today. Through our challenges, every victory, every setback, every triumph, His hand has been upon us. We are thankful for the strength, the wisdom, and the opportunities He's given us each and every day. To our families, thank you. You were the first coaches, the biggest fans, the strongest supporters. Your sacrifice, your time, you encouraged us when we doubted ourselves. You celebrated our victories, and you stood beside us through every disappointment. We share the honor with you because we would not achieve any of this without your sacrifices. To our coaches, especially this guy right here, there were many, many days that he looked at me and he said, Billy, if you don't get out there and play hard, I'm gonna rip your dip and jick your jack. To this day, I am still trying to figure that out. To our coaches, thank you for believing in a group of young men and teaching us football and much more than just winning ball games. You taught us discipline, accountability, perseverance, teamwork, and character. And to this day, it stays with me. Those lessons did not end when the final whistle blew. They became foundations for which we've built our lives. To our community, thank you for embracing us, encouraging us, filling the stands each and every week. Your pride in the team inspired us to give everything we had every time we stepped on the field, as was your cheers that aided us in our victories. Tonight, this honor belongs to every player who wore the Greyhound uniform, every coach who challenged us, every parent who believed in us, every teacher who encouraged us, and every fan who cheered for us. It belongs to those who are here tonight and those that have gone before us. We remember them with gratitude and carry their legacy in our hearts. The 1991 Greyhound football team was never about football. It was about brotherhood, commitment, believing that together we can accomplish more than any of us on our own. Thank you for recognizing our team, preserving our place in history, and may you always remember us for who we are, for what we did, and for all that you've done for us. Thank you.
Well, it just gets better and better and better every year, every year. You all have a little brochure that was in your program. I hope you'll take one home. I know you might have not have brought your checkbook or whatever, but consider making a donation to the Charitable Foundation so we can continue this great legacy that we have. Nothing like being a Greyhound. I've just told Billy, I said, I remember that play. I think Doc Brown was right beside me in the stands. He came down the sideline on our side, and I don't know how many tackles, I guess ever how many, 10 or 11, lost one or two of his shoes, kept running, and scored. You remember that, Doc? Unbelievable run, one of the best I've ever seen. And nice to have him back with us. He's a legend, and we've got a lot of them in Newport. Want to do a shout out for John 3:17 that did the meal tonight. They did a great job. Want to make sure that the award winners and all. Yes, Lynn. Yeah, if you're a member of the team, the state championship team, stand up. And we want all of you team members and all you award winners tonight to come back up. And the cheerleaders, yeah, cheerleaders, everybody. Whippets, cheer. And if you were in the stands at that game, stand up. Here's dear old Newport to you, no question about it. All of you award winners, all the members of the team, come up here, have your pictures taken, and so we can get some pictures and have it for posterity. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's just one of the several things that makes Newport so special. I have to say that I have had two wonderful friends in my life that I dearly, dearly love. One is in heaven, and the other is Ronnie Brown. So, Ronnie, thank you for starting this foundation. Look what it's doing. Let's keep it going, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, go Hounds!